Mrs. Slump, roll call, please.
Dr. Cordolino?
Here.
Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Mrs. Fano? Here. Dr. Bograt?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Grau?
Here. Flag, pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we have Mrs. Slump read the Sunshine Law, welcome. We have an interesting presentation tonight from the high school administration, and we would like to welcome you to this monthly meeting of the Montville Board of Ed. Sunshine Law, Mrs. Slump, please.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on February 5th, 2022.
Thank you, Katina. We do have our two student reps here, who are not roll call wasn't done, but Anton and Jolene, right? Okay. This is your chance to shine, guys. Who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, get that mic real close so we can hear you. Why don't you, it's not working? Why don't you take the one that's standing up there?
The hand mic is this one.
The hand mic?
You see where you are, just grab the hand mic.
We have our IT coordinator, Ingrid, helping us out there.
Okay, hello, my name is Jolene, and I'm going to just, refresh you on the past news. The National Merit Commended Students, Montville Township High School is pleased to announce the following students have been named commended students in the 2023 National Merit Scholarship Program. The following students were commended: Sophia Canella, Andrea Manuel, Brandon Glennon, Ben Halpern, Leo Jang, Jeffrey Joes, Julia Kapinski, Samantha Ko, Shreya Manuka, Adit Nagar, Kush Parikh, Erin Parisi, Ashani Patel, Jordan Quinn, Joshua Rieger, Matthew Reese, Jake Shankman, Joshua Su, Ashley Tang, Kaylee Vento, Jordan Beely, and Ashley Zhang. A letter of commendation from the School National Merit Scholarship, which conducts the program, will be presented to these scholastically talented seniors. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation announced the names of approximately 16,000 semifinalists in the 68th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. These academically talented high school seniors have an opportunity to continue in the competition for some 7,215 National Merit Scholarships worth more than $28 million that will be offered next spring. To be considered for a Merit Scholarship Award, semifinalists must fulfill several requirements to advance to the finalist level of the competition. Over 95% of semifinalists are expected to attain finalist standings, and about half of the finalists will win a National Merit Scholarship, earning the Merit Scholar title. MTHS is pleased to announce that the Reverdy Pantula has been recognized as a semifinalist. The Student Activities Council celebrated the beginning of the year with a very successful pep rally, where all grades participated and competed in fun games and bonding activities. The seniors won the pep rally games in the competition. The Student Activity Council is also excited to announce that we brought back homecoming this year, the dance, and it was held on Thursday, October 13th, the day before the homecoming football game. The event was a huge success, and there were almost 600 students in attendance. Many clubs at MTHS have either started working on new activities or initiated interest meetings, such as FBLA, DECA, and Key Club. This week, the Math Club congratulates Jake Shankman, who earned a perfect score on the first New Jersey Mathematics League contest. Great job to Jake Shankman, Brendan Glennon, Curtis Wang, Skippo Han, and Benjamin Halpern for being Montville's top scorers in this month's competition. The school's new sandwich pre-order is saving many students time to get to class and not have to wait in long lunch lines. Students have been encouraged to keep using it. The College College Fair that's been accessible to juniors and seniors will be running next week, October 24th, and the deadline to sign up will be tomorrow night. And students were able to attend a financial aid night, breaking down the FAFSA paperwork to first-time college parents or confused students. And back-to-school night was a great success, with many parents coming in to learn more about their children's classes and their teachers firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. My name's Aaron Parisi, and I'm going to be reporting on the sporting events. So to start, we have the football team. They're currently boasting a record of 6-2 with the recent win over Warren Hills, 27-26. I'm not sure if any of you guys were there, but it was an amazing game with an exciting finish. Congratulations to senior quarterback Joseph Rayburn for breaking 1,000 total passing yards. He continues to have a great season. And this week's football game is a big one. It's away at Chatham at 2 o'clock on Saturday, and it's for the conference championship. So we're excited to support our team in Chatham. The boys soccer team holds a 6-4-2 record, led by senior Patrick Ferrari scoring 11 goals and senior goalkeeper Connor Zilikowski with an impressive 71 saves so far. They're playing against Mendham currently for the county semifinals, so we're excited to hear back from them. Meanwhile, the girls soccer team has a record of 3-5-1 with sophomore goalkeeper Hannah DeAngelis holding an astounding 80 saves. Girls volleyball holds a 12-3 record, currently third in the overall Northwest Jersey Atlantic Conference standings. Senior center Michaela Boyd is on track to break 200 assists, and the Mustangs are expected to make a solid postseason run. The field hockey team stands at 7-3 during their season, making it to the second round of county play. They currently rest at first in their division with 6 more regular season games to come. The boys cross country came in 8th place at yesterday's NJAC championship, with sophomore Alex Paylaw finishing 5th out of 89 members in his division. He's off to an amazing year, and there's a lot of good things coming from him. Girls cross country came in 10th place with sophomore Lauren Solon. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. What was it? Solon? Okay, there it is. Placing 15th out of 82 runners. Cross country will attend the Morris County tournament on Tuesday, October 18th. Girls tennis holds a record of 4-8, making it to the quarter-final round of the state sectionals. Congratulations to the team for finishing their regular season games. They play their last match tomorrow. And we're glad to hear that senior Ishani Patel received first place in the county tournament. Congratulations to her. We look forward to the conclusion of regular season fall play, and for all teams to continue to impress during the postseason. We've had amazing sports in the fall, and a lot of students are coming out to support, and especially with the football and the soccer team, we're excited to see how they do. Registration for winter sports is now open for students to sign up, and we're planning for a lot of students to participate in our winter sports, such as girls and boys basketball, wrestling, co-ed swim team, bowling, competition cheer, and winter track, and ice hockey. So we have a lot coming up and to be excited for. That's all we got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions for our student reps? Percy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I had the absolute pleasure of hearing Jolene Hammer sing the national anthem at the last Morris County School Board's meeting, which was hosted here. And I'm going to acknowledge you again a little bit later on, along with other musicians. I believe there were 4 musicians present. They provided some background music while school board members dined in our cafeteria. And then, of course, at the beginning of the meeting, Jolene sang the national anthem, which was a completely stirring rendition. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Charlie? I also want to congratulate you. I attended the meeting also, and you were spectacular. I did musical theater pretty much my whole life, and you were just amazing, and you captured everyone's attention.
Thank you so
So
much.
keep singing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. 2 very, very comprehensive reports, and we thank you. But I know I saw one of you at the football game, but the gentleman at the end of this table, he's the fellow that's been announcing the football games for how many years now, Mike?
132.
132. You know, you can tell he wasn't great in math, but I'm glad Services. I definitely would like to thank you two for excellent comprehensive report and wish you well. Feel free to leave if you'd like, or feel free to stay. It's up to you. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next section F is the superintendent's report, and we have a presentation tonight, so Tom, if you would.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, if you look at our board agenda, you see a page and a half of good news and all the great things that are going on. So to continue with what our student representatives have been sharing with us, I just wanted to share a little bit about different things that are going on throughout the district. This month in New Jersey was the Week of Respect, the first week in October, and we had character education lessons at the elementary schools that were taught in classrooms throughout the week with the primary focus on kindness, compassion, and showing respect towards others. Some heard endearing stories of encouragement, while others engaged in activities to help develop communication, teamwork, and to start off the school on a great start of the new year. Special programs this month focused on bullying prevention and making positive choices. At Valley View, we had elementary school students in the 5th grade participate in the Exercise US program. Mr. Saunders does this each year, and with respect to September being the National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month, he had students from the whole 5th grade there. They contributed 15 minutes of exercises, and throughout the country, every 15 minutes, it kept on moving west. So over 10 hours, you had students participating in this program, with it ending in California, Hawaii, and Alaska. At Lazar, 6th graders participated in the annual color war. I was able to get down there, see what was going on. The kids had a great time playing volleyball, soccer, tug of war, a lot of different events, and they just loved competing with each other. They started at 8 o'clock in the morning and just kept going. At the high school, we had breast cancer awareness, and we saw a lot of pink during the week, during the different games and activities, and that was showing a lot of school spirit, and the Montville Athletic Boosters, along with the PTC, helped run that apparel fundraiser. 2 weeks ago, we had the Professional Development Day. The kids had, the day off, and they got to enjoy themselves, but the faculty were in working, and they engaged in many different activities. They were mostly building-based. At the elementary level, multiple schools discussed the science of reading via the book Shifting the Balance, and that will be continuing PD throughout the year. At the middle school level, there was a number of sessions for teachers. This included Genesis Student Management System and book study or restorative practices and analysis of student assessment data. And at the high school, they welcomed back Dr. Tyree Ordine from Left Turn Village, who engaged in a second session with the faculty and staff on intersectionality and cultural competency. So it's really great stuff that's going on. A lot of different needs are being met throughout the district, and we look forward to many more professional development things going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gorman. The next part of the program, would you like to introduce the committee or
Yes.
chairman of the
So,
committee for the high school?
Mr. Sanford's going to come on up, and he's the principal of the high school. He's going to talk about some changes we're going to be doing to the middle school, to the midterm and the final exam schedule. And you want to sit or you want to stand? It's up to you.
I'll stay.
All right. So the committee did work for, I guess, almost a year or so, and they came up with these results that you can share with us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody who's in the audience. My name is Doug Sanford. I'm the high school principal. In just a moment, we'll have our presentation up on the screen here. I'm speaking on behalf of the committee that existed at the high school for more than a year, investigating the structure of midterms and finals at the high school. To put into context why we addressed this issue, there's kind of 3 historical reasons or 3 opportunities that we're faced with at the high school. Number 1, we're constantly evaluating our practices at school. In my time at the high school, which is coming up on 11.5 years now, we've looked at midterms and finals multiple occasions through multiple committees, so this is just ongoing evaluation of our best practices. Some other issues, or some other reasons to take a look at this. During the pandemic, since the spring of 2020, the school has, for a variety of reasons, had to eliminate midterms and finals at different times because of simply the accessibility of running those types of assessments, those cumulative assessments, in a virtual or hybrid format. And finally, you may know, New Jersey schools, particularly high schools, are experiencing an increasing amount of standardized testing, which inevitably is pulling time away from instructional classroom time. So trying to keep that instructional time sacred, is there ways that we can restructure our midterms and finals so that we can give back more instructional time to the classroom? So these are the thoughts. These are the things that were driving this committee. And all call went out to the high school for staff, teachers, and administrators to join the committee in the summer of 2021, so going back to last July or August. We had a committee formed of different administrators and teachers representing different departments throughout the high school, both at the teacher and administrative level. And again, we were focusing on looking at the structure of midterms and finals. How much time is allocated to, the way we administer, what classes administer. We weren't focusing on best practices for assessment itself. That's something we really are leaving to the department level, and I'll speak more about that later on in the presentation. In our quest to make the most informed decision, we focused on 6 areas of study: the academic research that supports or that's focused on midterms and finals in a high school setting, or cumulative assessments in a high school setting, what other comparable high schools are doing, as well as gathering feedback from the key stakeholder groups in the school community: staff, students, parents, and alumni, which is the group I was most excited about throughout this committee's work. So a quick refresher. Some of you know this, some of you may not know this. We characterize the previous midterm and final schedule at the high school as a period-based schedule, where every class in every period is going to administer some version of a midterm and final, a cumulative assessment or an assessment during that midterm week and that final week. We use a half-day bell schedule for 4 days, 2 exams per day with a break in the middle, and then we wrap up the second mark period. Midterms happen at the end of the second mark period, finals happen at the end of the fourth. We wrap up that midterm week and that final week with something we call a day 0, where all 8 classes meet in a given day, so that teachers have one last time, particularly semester classes, to meet with their students, provide feedback on the midterm, and then we transition into the next marking period or wrap up the school year. So you can see up on the screens, hopefully board members can see it, a quick mock-up of how the schedule is structured. To put into perspective some numbers that you might kind of plant in your mind, again, students are taking exams essentially in all of their classes, and students are going to be enrolled in 7 or 8 classes, so we're talking about 750 classes approximately throughout the building that are administering exams in the previous format. Again, the areas of study that I mentioned previously, the academic research, other comparable high schools, and then gather the data from those 4 different stakeholder groups. I'm going to fly through these next few slides because it's just a synopsis. One thing I'll point out is if you ever have time, after this meeting, we'll begin making the full report available to the community, accessible through the high school website. We plan on communicating this information out formally to students and parents at the high school, although information has started to leak out at this point, because we did make teachers aware of this at the onset of the school year so they could incorporate it into their planning purposes and grading rubrics throughout the year. Academic research, we didn't have a ton of information that focused on midterms and finals. The academic research tends to focus on forms of assessment, versions of assessment. Again, that really wasn't the committee was chasing. Other comparable high schools, either through teacher contact, through MTEA contact, so teacher association to teacher association, or through myself, principal to principal contact, we tried to gather information of what was going on in other high schools. One thing was clear, we're all over the map. Morris County, practically every high school is doing something different. The high schools that could be comparable to us in terms of participating in a period-based or a traditional midterm and final schedule tend to be the private schools in the area. Other public schools are dabbling with quarterly assessments or doing away with assessments, midterms and finals. Staff input, this is the one group where we went the extra mile. We didn't just use survey data, we also used focus group data, discussions at the department level hosted by the supervisors to really dive deep into some of the questions we were asking. And through these different 4 stakeholder groups, we started to see common threads, and that's really the backbone of this report and the backbone of our findings and what we're moving towards. You can take a look on the screen, some things to highlight. Exams contribute to a loss of instructional time. They cause undue anxiety and stress to students. Excuse me. And one thing, 2 other things are considering the idea of exams to occur midterms and finals only in tested areas, and what I mean by that is classes that align with standardized tests, and also expanding exemptions. Previously, I'll save that for later on. Student survey, 339 responses from the students. We had hoped for more. We did give a couple opportunities, but it's a decent number. It represents about 25 to a quarter to a third of our student body. Again, similar threads to what we heard from the staff in terms of increased anxiety, loss of instructional time. With parents, similar numbers, close to 300 parents, or a little more than 300 parents. Increasing exemptions, testing only in the, or giving exams only in the tested areas. And here's where we were surprised by the number of responses. We got close to 300 responses from alum. Hats off to all of our past senior class and SAC presidents who were instrumental in getting the word out to their classmates, to their fellow alum through social media. Thank you, Sue Marinello, for also getting some of that out, helping with that. But a good response rate, 275 responses from alum. I'm going to spend a couple extra moments here talking about this because the survey questions were a little bit different for the alum, and then we asked them about what their post-high school plan had been. What was their experience like post-high school? 2-year college, 4-year college, straight to work. If you went to a college, what area of study? That allowed us to disaggregate that data and look at if we were going to explore the idea of only giving exams in tested areas, is that an experience that students would then have if they pursued those majors in college? And in fact, that was something that we found. So what we're proposing, or not proposing, but implementing is a different format. Moving away from a period-based schedule where every class is giving an exam to a subject-based schedule. And only giving exams in classes that directly align with a pre-existing standardized test. I'll show you that list, a comprehensive list in just a moment. But what that means is, where previously we'd have 2 exams on one day, period 1 and period 5, the next day would be periods 2, period 6. Now our first day of exams will be the math day. Our second day of exams will be the English day. The third day, science day, social studies, and then the world language and business. That's in general terms. There are some exceptions to that, and I'll go into that in just a moment. But in addition to having one exam each of those 5 days, or more than one exam each, having one exam each of those 5 days, we'll then follow it up with a delayed opening, so a 6-period delayed opening bell schedule for the rest of the day. Let's put into perspective what this means. I'm going to jump forward to the number of classes, and then I'll slide back. The classes listed here are the classes from all the different departments. And one thing I want to point out, this isn't an honors thing or a not honors thing, it's a subject thing. In math, we're looking at Algebra 1 because Algebra 1 aligns directly with an NJSLA standardized test. By having those students go through a structured midterm experience and then a structured final experience, we expect that that's preparing them for that standardized test. And that's all levels of Algebra 1. Similar geometry, Algebra 2. We're also doing it in all AP classes. So students will have that structured midterm and final in AP classes. And technically not the final, but I'll get to that also in a moment. So again, there's a comprehensive list. Something I want to point out that this causes to happen. Where we were giving exams in 750 classes before, we're giving them in far fewer classes now. Just think about the math department. If a student's enrolled in pre-calculus, they won't be taking a structured exam. We will talk about what happens with respect to cumulative assessments, but they won't have time dedicated in the day from 7:30 to roughly 9:15 to sit for a midterm and a final. We do have the potential for students who are enrolled in multiple subjects in a course, students who take 2 sciences, 2 maths. We are resolving that through our scheduling. I said before, the first day is math, the second day is English, and so on and so forth. Through running a very large conflict matrix, we're able to identify conflicts and move classes around to reduce the number of conflicts. Inevitably, there are going to be some hard conflicts that can't be solved through that troubleshooting. So we are running what we're calling a conflict period. So a handful of students may experience a second exam in a day. And I stress it's a handful of students. I'll get to those numbers in just a moment. Also, if a student doesn't have a structured exam that morning, for instance, they're enrolled in a math class that doesn't have a structured midterm, that student would experience a delayed opening that day. They would come to school for a 9:25 homework. Through all this study, through all this huge volumes of data that was collected, we came across 5 common threads. that were spoken about a little bit in academic research, a little bit with comparable high schools, but more importantly through those 4 different key stakeholder groups. Exams should be administered in fewer subject areas or classes within those subject areas. Exams contribute to a loss of instructional time. Exemptions should be available to more students. Exams contribute to student anxiety and stress. And exams don't have to be department-based or common. Let me talk about each of these specifically. We already talked about how it's going to be a specific list of classes from each department. What I also want to point out is, for those classes that still have a structured midterm and final, they'll keep the old grading scheme of 20% for each marking period and 10% for the midterm, 10% for the final. For classes that don't have dedicated time for a midterm and final, they can still give cumulative assessments. We're not taking away that freedom, right, or whatever you want to call it, for that teacher, for that class, in conjunction with the supervisor, to design and implement cumulative assessments. But instead of having dedicated time for it, they would incorporate it into normal instructional time. If they're doing a larger cumulative assessment like that, it couldn't last more than 2 periods, 2 55-minute instructional periods, would have to be incorporated into that marking period grade, couldn't count for more than 10% of that grade. Now, this is not a new thing. We're already doing this at the high school. We were already doing it last year. Some math classes were implementing quarterly assessments, and they were implementing them over a couple of days, factoring them into the marking period average. Now we're just sort of memorializing this as something that other classes can do that don't have dedicated time. And for those classes that don't have that dedicated midterm and final time, their grading percentages are 25% for each marking period to get your final average. So loss of instructional time. This was enormous. And I'm going to give a range to this, but the punchline of this slide is, by switching to this proposed schedule, by reducing the total number of structured midterms and finals, we gain back anywhere from 60 to 100 hours of instructional time over the course of the year. Because of the reduced number of exams, because of getting back into school on those days that used to be half days, two sets of 4 half days, now we're in school where more instructional time is being utilized. Some people have claimed that this is some funny math I have up on this table, but basically on the left-hand side, I tried to give you a range of what it looked like in the old schedule, not just counting the time that's actually allocated for the exam, but also preparatory time that some teachers would use in the days leading up to it. And then I tried to apply that to the new schedule as well, to give you a sense of how much instructional time in the classroom is going to be gained back this particular this. Expanding a final exam exemptions. This was a great opportunity. Previously, exam exemptions existed only for finals, and we're going to keep them only for finals. Teachers and students and parents, for that matter, felt that midterms were informative and could be used as a means of feedback and to drive instruction for the second semester. But final exams, students could gain exemptions only if they had a 93 average in each of the grading periods throughout the course of the year. Each marking period, midterm exam, all of them. Now we're saying you can have a final exam exemption if you have a projected final average of a 93. So for instance, if you had a midterm and you got a 90, but you had high averages in the marking period and have a projected of a 93, you can be exempt from your final. That pertains where it was only for seniors. Now it's all 4 grades, 9 through 12. So students can be exempt from their final as long as they're performing very high in the class throughout the course of the year. And all this is determined at the end of the 3rd marking period, gone are the days of potentially waiting up to the last minute and not really knowing where you stand. Now you'll know at the end of the 3rd marking period whether you are eligible for an exemption or not. Also, students who are enrolled in AP classes who sit for the AP exam, they are also eligible for an exemption. That was something that was, I'll say, it was a soft rule for the last several years, and it got a lot harder throughout COVID, but that's something now we're memorializing through this modification. Finally, reducing anxiety and stress. A lot of the structural changes we feel we're making are will likely contribute to a significant reduction in student stress and anxiety. Where we once had 300 subjects giving exams, now we're down to about 45 subjects giving structured midterms and finals. where we once were administering anywhere close, between 8,300 and 84 exams across the whole student body for just midterm and then final. Now we're doing about 2,100 exams. Where something I want to point out, we have actually counted how many exams each student is going to experience in midterms and finals. 92%, about 92% of our student body will sit for 3 or fewer exams. So they'll have at least 2 delayed openings. That's 92%, the overwhelming majority of our student body. There's only 80 students in the school, or about 8% of our student body, who have 4 or more. So the idea of being overburdened with many exams, we're talking about a small handful of students. Students who, I have to admit, take extremely rigorous course loads. We do have 2 students in the building who are taking the 7 AP classes. So they are going to have a tough midterm and final week, but they have a tough year the whole year. So they were always our test cases. We can make it work for them, and we can kind of make it work for everybody. Something I also want to talk about, increasing those exemptions, we think will take a large burden off students, especially at the end of the year as things are winding down. We also anticipate we'll be able to compress the schedule at finals because there'll be so fewer students because so many will be exempt. So where we're using 5 days for midterms, it's possible we could use as few as 3, maybe even 2 days only for finals. Again, gaining back more instructional time that we haven't even planned for yet. And the last thing I'll point out, and I put it in italics because it's really a new idea that's only come about in the last week, and that's the idea that we're considering where midterm exams happened at the end of second working period, and it really meant everything had to end all at once. You're finishing up those projects, you're finishing up those chapter tests, and you're taking your midterms. We're considering moving midterms to the start of third marking period, the first week, so that classes can close out second marking period, then you can sit for your exams as you're starting to transition into some third marking period stuff. I'm not going to go too much more explanation about that. The point is, so far, every way we've looked at it, it presents students with a great opportunity to really reduce the stress and spread that out over 2 weeks as opposed to cramming it into 4 days. Finally, with department and subject-based assessments, this is something we're going to hand over to the supervisors. They're working with their teachers to decide what's the best thing to do in terms of implementing common assessments and subjects or across departments. Don't want to end without acknowledging the members of the committee, myself, Mr. Dave Gelber, Ken Nadzak, Sandy Schwartz, Dave Tubbs. Those folks are here tonight, not Ken Nadzak. I want to thank them for being part of it. They were a huge help. And then the teachers who participated in it, Helen Gizis, Yvonne Glanville, Cheryl Kerwin, Ken McGyver, Laura Vera, and Lenny Sackles. Great participants. We've had to put a lot of hours into this after school, also independently, parsing through the data, writing the report. So just couldn't have done it without their help. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Extremely thorough. I want to thank the committee and everybody that's here tonight. I know a lot of time and effort went into that. The research definitely bears that out. And I think you found a nice sweet spot for what's going to be going on. Any board members?
Any questions from board members? Here's the mic.
I want to compliment our principal and his administrative team and all the participants on the faculty that helped with this. This was a project that is invaluable, okay? If the time that you estimate is only half, it is time well gained, okay? Instructional time is all we have, okay? And that time is very valuable. This is a great job. This is a great thing that this has been rethought and taken into consideration how the schools have changed, what we were doing for many years, and it's really time that this was revised, and I compliment you for it. I think this was a great effort, okay? And just the reduction of stress. Students will have ample opportunity to be efficient at taking exams, okay? The stress that this caused on the faculty, on the students, on the administration over the years. it's time. I think it's a great thing that you've done.
That means a lot, especially coming from your first-hand experience.
Any other questions from board members? Anyone else? Dave?
So thank you again. That was an excellent presentation. I appreciate your emphasis on reducing stress. I think you've got a good new schedule coming out. I think there are a lot of strong positives to this. I'm a little confused though about why you would not insist upon final exams for some of the classes. For instance, the math, the science classes. I think that you would want to have not that be an option, but a mandatory. Although I do like changing the format so it's not as long, as stressful. But I think that you still want to maintain final exams and midterms in those science classes and business classes. I would see something like a world language class where every test is a cumulative exam. As you learn a language, you have to keep building upon that language. Every class builds upon the previous class. Whereas in sciences, from my experience, there's a little more discrete learning where you have some areas that you learn and then you put aside for a little bit. So why not make it mandatory for a final in all science and math classes?
Sure. Well, so to go back, the classes that in science and math, it is the largest amount of all the departments. That's the department that has the largest amount of subjects that will have time allocated for structure midterm finals. Science is, I'll say, in the middle. We have the AP courses and we have biology that is going to have time for dedicated structured midterms and finals. What I want to just keep reminding folks of is, while I can't tell you every single class that is or is not going to give a cumulative assessment, there will be classes that still give cumulative assessments. They won't just have that time set aside separate from the instructional day to implement that assessment. So for instance, you mentioned world language. All level 3 world languages might implement a cumulative assessment, possibly at the end of the first marking period, second marking period, possibly at the end of the first semester, and same thing in the second half of the year. And that could very well hold true in the math and sciences as well. But the idea of mandating it, I think throughout our research we found that for pretty much all the stakeholder groups, midterms were viewed as a far more valuable instrument than finals were. For two reasons. One, well, for multiple reasons. One, teachers use those midterms to provide feedback to students. In the days that followed, they could provide feedback, correct misunderstanding, drive their instruction in the second half of the year based on performance on that midterm. That opportunity doesn't exist in final. A final exam is more about the experience of going through this cumulative assessment, and really the only thing you ever get back is a number. This is how you did, this is how you performed. It's important to note, too, that by and large, over, I'll say, the time that I've been in Montville Township High School, the vast majority of midterms are not whole year cumulative assessments, they're second semester cumulative assessments. So the notion of mandating this across different courses and not providing students with the opportunity who have already demonstrated proficiency through good performance throughout the course of the year, we didn't feel like there was a lot of value in that experience.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's a very valid comment about teaching and having a midterm on the first half and basically a second midterm for the second. But I'm not mistaken, I believe in your report you indicated that the alumni value the midterm and finals.
They value the large cumulative assessments, particularly in the math and sciences.
Right, so there seems to be some value there that the students who have gone through this and gone on to college, which is basically 96% or something like that of our student population goes on to college, they seem to have gotten some value out of the midterms and finals that they've had to go through. Is that correct?
So the answer is yes to that, yeah. What I think the key thing to recognize in this, and what we're discussing right now is, we're constantly evaluating this. So while we're implementing the schedule for midterms, we're anticipating, we still haven't decided what we're doing with finals because we'll wait to see how that exemptions play out at the end of the third market period. We actually haven't developed that schedule yet. We will constantly evaluate this, and if we see some opportunities, either because we are not putting our students through the right experience and maybe should put back some midterms and finals, then we would make those adjustments. But this is a constant evaluation that will go on.
Well, I do like that you constantly evaluate. I think that's important for the school district, important for the schools and the students, that we constantly evaluate how we're teaching and if we're doing it effectively. That's always one of the biggest challenges in teaching, is that how do you know if you're doing it effectively? So I appreciate all that. The last point I would make would be department-based or common finals. It seems to me that if you're going to do a final, it needs to be common for all students taking that class. The way I was reading this, and maybe I'm not reading it correctly, it sounds like each teacher could come up with their own final or own midterm, and I don't think that's really fair to the students in the different classes. So,
It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. And let me use two subject areas to kind of explain what I mean by that. Let's use an English class. English 9 is one of our tested areas, so we'll use that. All of our English 9 students are not going through the same experience. They didn't go through the same experience in school today. Some, and please don't hold it against me, Mr. Tubbs, but I'm going to make up novels they might be reading. You know, some of them might be reading Of Mice and Men right now, while others might be reading Lord of the Flies. So the notion of their midterm being identical isn't plausible because the content that they covered throughout the course of the semester wasn't identical. Now, there are grammatical things that would be identical. There are, if they're writing essays, you know, a 5-paragraph essay, that would be common. But the content that they use to support those different pieces of the curriculum wouldn't necessarily be. And that's because in an English class or in English 9, they're trading novels throughout the year. So English 9 honors may be doing Lord of the Flies right now. English 9 enriched might be doing Of Mice and Men. So that's just one example where it might not be identical and in a common assessment. Similar in nature, not identical. All Algebra 2 teachers, however, would likely be giving a very similar, if not nearly identical. Certainly Algebra 2 honors would be identical. Algebra 2 enriched would be identical. There might be a little subtle difference between the levels, but otherwise it would be largely identical. Because their content, their resource, textbook, online textbook, whatever the case may be, is identical across all those levels.
so because I thought we made sure that our teachers were all basically working off the same playbook, and that they were all teaching essentially the same material throughout the school year, whether they do it at the same pace. It's obviously up to the teachers, but I thought that we were pretty much using the same.
And I would say for 95% of the school, that's correct. There are, just because of access to resources, some subtle variations, but that's, again, it's what you're reading versus what you're working on in class, the different English concepts or language arts concepts that you're learning. They're just supported by that curriculum, not all of them.
The
Dave, let's do someone else. Just back to you. Okay, Michael?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the effort you've put into this. I think the system we have now is a much better system in terms of the scheduling. There are a lot of courses we had that really did not require finals. We didn't have to have a pickleball final phys ed every year. We got the final on being the final photography. A lot of the fluff finals that we've got doing, I think that's a really good thing. And we've put in a lot of instruction value and instructional time. That's a good thing also. The only thing I question a little bit, I'm a little bit of a debate on this, is that I look at some of the things we're testing. Say, for example, we're testing English 9 and English 11. Why not English 10? Algebra 1, Algebra 2, why not geometry? Biology 1, Biology 2, why not chemistry? And what about U.S. history? I mean, there's a few subjects I think just, in my mind anyway, just lend themselves to final exams. But I mean, having said that, with those with few additions. I, very much agree with everything you're saying, and maybe one other thing too, the exemptions. I understand the need the desire to reward kids for hard work being a 93 average. I just caution one thing, I think for a lot of kids, that 93 average may be the result of being very good at last minute cramming. And I've always felt that when you learn something the second time, you learn it much better. That's just, I think, I'm really a little more concerned as to why we're not testing certain subjects, not for the classes.
May I just put everybody in mind? This is a big first step. As we want to do. These are the people that,
Mike,
yeah.
let's,
Okay. These people will be assessed as we go on.
did you want to respond to Mr. Palmer's comments?
I guess I'll ask Mr. Palmer to respond. Was there any questions?
No issue.
Okay.
Charlie?
Any questions? Yes? Christine?
Thank you so much, Doug, and your committee and all the administrators. I know you love all the kids, so your heart was in this. I'm going to age myself. I graduated in 1987, and I used to go to bed 10 o'clock at night. Nowadays, these kids are not going to bed 10 o'clock. With sports and studying and just their lifestyle, it's difficult. So I just wanted to ask if there was any discussions regarding making that 7:25 to 9 a.m. block for the exam, making that later, maybe at 8:30 in the morning, because for me, it was always difficult to take an exam. You don't really want to eat at 6:30 in the morning. I didn't drink coffee, and it was very hard to think sometimes that early. So I was wondering if maybe you can evaluate, or if there were discussions regarding pushing back those exams to maybe 8:30, because even in college, you're not taking 7:20 exams.
Let's let Doug respond. We have a specific question. We're not talking about changing hours of the schools or anything like that.
No, I just meant.
Well, and I do want to, if I may, just respond to that, because it was considered, and it's a valid question. I know that's always a hot topic right now, the start time of high schools and things of that sort. So was there a way to incorporate that into the terms and finals? So the challenge we face is students having the majority of the student body in the building for 4 or more hours for the day to count as an instructional day. Otherwise, we wouldn't get credit for the day. So we more or less have to either do the exam at the start of the day or the end of the day. Doing it in the middle would mean that we have a large percentage of the student body essentially sitting idle for an hour and 45 minutes. So trying to squeeze it into the middle day wasn't necessarily practical. When picking between those two options, considering transportation, access to after-school activities, the decision was to go with the start of the day for the exam and then move on with the delayed over the rest of the day. You're welcome.
Any other questions? On behalf of the rest of my colleagues, thank you very much for the presentation. Very informational. Good luck with this implementation. And I'm sure that you'll get back to us in the future, hopefully, and let us know how it all may out.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next part of the program, the agenda is Business Administrator's Report.
No report.
Minutes of the Finance Meeting. Karen? Report of the Finance Meeting.
Okay, so the Finance Committee Finance Committee did meet right before our meeting tonight. We went over the financial position of the school district. We had got an update on food service, discussed the transportation issue, as well as progress of the ongoing construction project. So I don't know if any of you have seen Cedarville School from Pinebrook Road with the new signs up, the red Cedarville Bulldog. It looks terrific. Put a smile on my face.
Thank you, Jimmy. Curriculum, Gabe?
No report. You just heard.
Policy and finance? Mike?
No report.
Communications, Michelle's not here. Safety and security, Mr. Rappaport.
No report.
Liaison, school boards, Karen?
Thank you, Charlie. So as we all know, workshop is coming up next week. I'll be heading down on Sunday and staying for Wednesday. I know that Joe Daughtry will be joining us, as well as some of the administrators. 2022 workshop will boast 5,000 registrants, 446 school districts, and 250 learning sections. The keynote speaker is John Scaff. He's the founder and CEO of Getaway, a company that provides simple, uncloaked escapes to tiny cabins outside the major cities across the United States. Probably something we all could use. John will talk about recess and the importance of rest to students, educators, and all who support them. John will be on the Investors Bank stage on Wednesday. I attended the September 23rd New Jersey School Board's Board of Directors meeting, and just a couple of highlights. 97.5% of the annual dues for the 2022-2023 fiscal year have been paid by school districts as of the date of the Board of Directors, September 23rd. And this was viewed as a measure of member satisfaction, services delivered to the boards, and a vote of confidence in NJSBA that will continue meeting the needs of our members. The strategic plan, Dr. Purnell, the new executive director, provided an update on the progress of the strategic plan. And the nominating committee is being selected. I believe that there will be 12 members of the nominating committee. And officers' terms expire in May. New Jersey School Boards has produced a 4-part video series which is intended for the community. It's about school governance. And if you go to the NJSBA website, njsba.org, and look in the search for school governance primer, you'll find 4 short 10 to 15 minute primers on school governance. Very helpful. I chaired the resolution subcommittee on October 11th. We considered one resolution and did not recommend that resolution be advanced to the November DA, as it was already covered by existing policy. The legislative committee met on September 17th. We were very fortunate to have Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin joining us, and he discussed a range of issues from the SDA, high school start times, insurance, Oprah requests, and the use of ARP funds. And it does seem that we're on track to fully fund SFRA by 2025. There will be a legislative panel at workshop on Tuesday, and the following legislators have confirmed their participation: Senator Vin Gopal, Chair of the Senate Education Committee; Senator Jack Nicole Scanlon, Senate Republican Budget Officer; Assemblywoman Pamela Lampett, Chair of the Assembly Education Committee; and Assemblyman Brandon Umba, member of the Assembly Education Committee. As we mentioned earlier, the Morristown School Boards met on September 28th. I know Mike is our liaison and delegate, so I'll let him give an update. I know that Christine was there virtually. But as I said earlier, there were 4 They were stupendous, and I really compliment the students as well as their teachers and Ed Fleischer for Ed Fleischman, for really nurturing our music program. And finally, on September 29th, New Jersey School Boards hosted a Board of Education candidates briefing, which explained in brief terms the roles and responsibilities of board members, as well as what school board members can and cannot do. As an officer of New Jersey School Boards, I welcome these candidates, and they will come all over the northern part of New Jersey, including Morris County. I gave a few encouraging remarks. I think the evening went very well. And that concludes my report, and I'm sorry if it was a little long tonight.
Karen, I don't know if you, I'm going to the convention too.
And Charlie will be at the convention as well. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Michael?
The Morris County,
I didn't want to mention that, Charlie, because I wanted to be sure no one broke into the house.
This will be my 53rd.
I think Karen mentioned everything I needed to mention. The Morris County School Boards Association, they meet, they continue to meet. They have music, they discuss things. Okay, little known fact, okay, so you don't have to go into it. Little known fact is that the current president of NJEA, New Jersey Education Association, and the executive director of the New Jersey School Boards Association are both graduates of Montville Township High School. And as far as I can remember, they were both students of mine, so that must mean something.
Yeah, for the benefit of the public, the new executive director of NJSBA is Tim Purnell.
Tim Purnell, yeah.
And I don't think, well, there might be some of you in the audience who remember his father's picture is on the wall, Doc Purnell, who served many years as a committee member here in Montville Township.
Insurance bill.
And of course, Sean Stoll is.
Okay, and hey, and Mr. Stubbs was one of my students also. Okay, all right. So that's it.
Both of those people you mentioned, presidents of NJA, they're both in the Montville Township High School Hall of Fame also.
Yes.
And so on the wall.
That's it, Mr. O'Brien.
Okay, Joe Daughtry, please. McCaskon?
We had a meeting on October 12th. We had a presentation on the history of the Transportation Services Program, as well as dealing with the staffing issues for nurses that are occurring within the county. We were able to cover 43 of the non-public schools with nurses. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, November 11th.
Thank you, Joe. Since you have the microphone, how about the drug awareness? Anything to report there?
Yes, drug awareness met on October 4th. There was a discussion on starting up the middle school dances again. It's been several years since they took place. We had discussions already with the administration of the czar on some potential dates. And we also had a table set up at Montville Day back on the 8th. We were able to hand out plenty of information to the members of the community. And our next meeting will be on November 3rd.
Thank you, Joe. Mustangs, Mr. O'Brien?
Okay, the Mustangs met on Wednesday the 12th, and the usual people were there, the volunteers that make it all happen. They run the corral, they get money, fundraisers for the athletic program. But I wanted to mention particularly bricks. All right. Outside the high school, there is a brick patio. There are two sizes of bricks. There are half bricks and big bricks. And you can get a brick by donating to the Mustangs and memorialize your family, your students, whatever you want to do outside the high school by marking a Mustang. All right? You can go on the website and the Montville Athletic Boosters at gmail.com and make a selection. All right, get in touch with them. I want to talk about the athletic programs, some things that were mentioned prior, but I want to elaborate a little bit. The big win that in football that was Friday night, which was, as you heard, was an incredible game to see. That put us in the playoffs. There's going to be an extra game. There's going to be a game on Friday night, the 28th, here at Montville High School, a playoff game, right here at the stadium. And there are other big things. Soccer played while we were here. I think there was a soccer semifinal game that took place. I don't know what happened. Last night, the girls' volleyball team won in the semis and the counties, and tomorrow night they will play at Randolph High School against Roxbury, and if they win tomorrow night, they'll be in the finals Sunday at FDU. So there are great things happening in programs in Montville High School, okay? The athletic program. So get yourself a brick, all right? Put yourself, memorialize yourself in the ground there, right on the grounds of Montville High School. Okay, that's it.
Thank you for the very emotional.
I'm excited. It's nothing.
You forgot this game is Saturday in Chapel too.
There's a Saturday game championship, and then next Friday, a playoff game. They're doing incredible. There's something to watch. All right.
Dr. Cordelino, lay us up.
Cedarville? Yes, no report.
No report, Hillville, Joe George, Bellevue.
They had a meeting on October 12th to discuss their Halloween parties, upcoming book fair, the fall assembly, and preparing for the holiday events.
Thank you. Christine Mason?
Yes, Charlie. So William Mason had their School Home Association meeting on October 11th. It was their first big meeting. And I'll give you the update. A lot's going on. They have a lot of fundraisers happening. They're all excited for their Halloween parade. What they've been up to, they granted teachers a new classroom improvement fund. They did a welcome back lunch for the teachers and staff. They also added in the faculty room treats and snacks. They added new sensory board decals to the school. Their KC Cougar greeted the kids at school. They're starting up their hot lunch. And they're selling spirit wear, of course. They're doing their winter boutique, and it's backed by popular demand, and that will be the first week in December. They have a Buddy Bench fundraiser, Dine to Donate, and that will be right after the Christmas break. Their big denim and diamonds tricky tray. The tables are sold out. The sponsorships are strong. And so if anyone would like to donate any tricky tray items, that would be wonderful for them. They're doing amazing. They have a new executive team, and they're all excited to work together.
Thank you, Christine. Woodmont?
Yes, then October 11th, still doing virtual for Woodmont. The guidance person, Doug Steck, who we honored here not too long ago, did a presentation on bullying and prevention and stress. Discussed the opening of the school, decorations outside the school, the new exterior of the gym, which is similar to the one at Cedar Hill, which is going to look very nice. Fundraising such as fun fair and spearware, and Mr. Esposito discussed the fact that he needs to, I guess, meet with Mrs. Slum, discuss ways that funds in their account can be spent.
Thank you, Mike. Lazar?
Last night, the Parents Council at Lazar met. Myself and Dr. Borman were there, and it was very well attended, and there was a lot of things discussed. I can't talk about everything, but just a few of the things. The food service is well received, according to the parents. What the feedback is from the students, that's unintended. The feedback is that the food is really good. Okay? One of the reports by the principal was the new way that they're approaching the student council. A new way that they're approaching the student council by having many more students participate in the student council. It's a new way of looking at things. There's a lot of things that we've seen here tonight. Exams that had been the same for so long. Student councils that never changed since maybe some of us were in high school. We have administrators in the schools that are changing things, that are updating things, that are forward moving. Whether it's the exams at the high school, whether it's the student council and getting more students involved, the great things are happening in this district. So there's going to be a whole new approach. I'm going to get there, all right? Okay. They're going to reopen the school store, okay, at Lazar, and the students are going to run the store. They're going to make the inventory. They're going to run the whole operation, okay? It's going to be managed by the students, okay? There's new programs that maybe we couldn't envision back when we were in high school about conflict resolution and things. There's a lot happening in the district. And I went into that meeting, it was a rainy night, it was nothing. I came out really enthused about the things that are going on in Lazar last night, and the things are in the sports program, and finally getting revised the exam schedule, okay? There's a lot of good things happening here, and I just want to emphasize about how forward-moving the administrators and teachers are moving this district forward. And I'm really proud. That's enough said.
High school?
No report this week.
Pardon?
No report this week.
Okay.
Sure. Can I just throw in one quick mention? Montville Education Foundation also met last night, which is why I can get Lazar. But just a reminder to the teachers, they do have money. Their fundraising has been very successful. They're still selling raffle tickets for their annual raffle that they do. And the teachers are encouraged to apply, send in grants, send in your ideas. The Montville Education Foundation really wants to support the teachers, but they can't support teachers if the teachers don't send in the grants.
And by the way, another thing, okay, that, since you mentioned MEF, the whole thing, I know it's not on this list. If you want to send in a nomination to the Hall of Fame about someone that graduated from the high school, send it in. There's a lot of great things, a lot of great people that graduated, and send it in. It'll be evaluated in January. I think February is the meeting, and buy a brick. Also buy a brick.
Mike, maybe you can come out on the high school website, is it there?
Yes.
Where you send the money?
There is a Hall of Fame section
Okay.
under athletics.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. O'Brien or Mr. Dr. Lopez? Okay. Public participation. It's an opportunity for anyone in the audience to ask questions of agenda items. I apologize for my rowdy colleagues to my left. It's that time of the night, a long night for us. Several of us have been here since 5:30. Any questions on any agenda items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Any questions on J? K? L? I know that we have a person retiring, Lenny Sanders, and Dr. Gorman will say something at the conclusion of the vote. H-I-J-K-L-M. I think that's it. We have quite a few appointments. Okay, roll call on to letter M, please.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Aye.
Dr. Portolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daltrey?
Yes.
Mrs. Fano? Yes. Dr. Modrak?
Yes.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Mr. Graff?
Yes. So Dr. Gorman, Lenny Sanders, as many of you know, has been with us many, many years. He started the program that was referred to before. We're going to give these awards out like we do every spring for all the retirements, but he's leaving December 31st. So Dr. Gorman has a brief couple of words to say about him now. I don't know if the reporter here, but they might pick it up from the channel that we advertise on. So John?
Sure.
Mr. Sanders?
So we do have two people retiring. Mr. Len Saunders has been a physical education teacher at Valley View Elementary School for 37 years. His name is synonymous with the nationally acclaimed program, Project ACES, which stands for All Children Exercise Simultaneously, which is an annual rite of passage at Valley View for the student body. Mr. Saunders has an enormous impact on the Valley View students, has also influenced physical education teachers throughout the country and even around the world. We're severely going to miss him. He's had a tremendous impact. And when I got up there to see that whole thing, when I think it was NBC News was there, you know, early in the morning, kids are smiling, they're doing all their calisthenics, they're doing all their movements, and it's all student-led, which was pretty impressive. So we will miss him. We also have another person, Mr. Joseph Palladino, who's been working for the Montville Township School District for 17 years, and he was assigned to the maintenance division and flourished in the landscape and field maintenance aspects of the job. 8 years ago, Mr. Palladino switched responsibilities and took over the custodial day shift responsibilities at Cedar Hill School. With his ability to perform many tasks and vast knowledge of maintenance, Mr. Palladino has been a huge asset to the district. He also will be greatly missed.
Thank you very much. There's no reason to have a closed session tonight. Section 2, old business. Section R, general board comment and new business.
Hey Charlie, I just want to thank Dr. Gorman for his article, the first 100 days. I know I complimented you in person, but I just thought it was wonderful. A lot of the community members that was their first introduction to you, and I think they really appreciated your vision and all that you did in your first 100 days, so thank you.
All right, the next part of the agenda is public participation for any citizens who have comments on any non-agenda items. If you have any comments, please come to the microphone. Just tell us your name, and then we'll hear your comments. If there are none, we have to meet again on November 1st and the 15th. If you have no comments at this time, you would like to do it on the 1st, please feel, so we'll be happy to do that. Are there any comments at this time? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you next month.